In this video, I'm going to break down how I give up smoking in 5 stages. I hope this helps you. Please take notes and apply the principles to your own life. Stage 1 is really recognizing that every time you fail to give up in the past, don't worry, because that is data that's going to inform you about how you're going to give up for good. So I know how demoralizing it can be, giving up and failing, feeling disgusted at yourself for smoking, and then even more disgusted at yourself for failing to give up. Please don't worry. You need a proper strategy. Stage 2, read Allan Carr's How to Give Up Smoking. That's it. Okay, I'm joking. I'm just going to run down the things that I took away from the book. I think it's a great book. Some people find it doesn't help for them. I'm just going to quickly tell you 3 things that I took from the book that served me in building my strategy. Do not try to give up until you are very clear about your strategy for giving up. You cannot give up on willpower alone, so you have to be very clear and don't even try and give up before you know what you're going to be doing. The second takeaway for me was really about how withdrawal feels. I never knew before reading that book that withdrawing from nicotine feels like hunger and feels like anxiety. So I thought that I was using the cigarette to soothe anxiety that I was feeling from my life. I didn't realize it was the withdrawal from the nicotine. So when my stomach got in a knot, when my chest started feeling tight, I thought that was because, my life was a mess. And while I was struggling at that time, it was not really a mess, but I couldn't understand why I just felt so anxious. So that made sense to me, and it helped me inform my strategy later on. The last point that really helped me from that book was about your identity. So I had to change my identity. Years of failing to give up, feeling shame around smoking as a parent. I didn't like myself. I was also a fitness instructor, personal trainer. I was very healthy. I was very active, except for this dirty, yucky habit that controlled my life. My self-esteem was low because of it. I was doing things that I did not like myself for. So I had to take control of my identity. I had to say, right, I am no longer a smoker. I live smoke-free. I no longer rely on cigarettes to regulate my emotions. These are statements that I had to begin saying to myself. I wrote them down as well. So I spoke them aloud in the mirror and I wrote them down. I kept repeating it to myself because identity change needs repetition. And I started doing this before I went cold turkey. Right, step 3, moving on from Allan's book. This powerful question is going to really help you. What does the addiction represent for you? Or what is the unmet need that the addiction meets for you? I realized that I smoked because I love that feeling of peace that I got. I could take a little moment for myself. Nobody was going to fuck with it. The cigarette was sure as hell not going to fuck with it. And it gave me the sense of a protected little moment for myself. So I had to get creative and think about all the other ways I could meet that unmet need, but without the cigarette. That looked like having 5 minutes on my bed, lying down, relaxing, listening to a podcast. Maybe it was having a cup of tea. Maybe it was just to pop to the shops and buy some flowers. The idea was that I had lots of options, from small little things to quite big things like booking in a massage, that would help me give myself some self-care that was not the cigarette. Another element that arose when I was doing this work was to somatically ask. Somatic is to tune into the body about sensations and ask yourself, where did this feeling first come from? Okay, and a coach helped me do that. They said, this feeling in the chest that arises, when did it first come into your body? And I realized that it had come into my body when I was 13 years old, which was when my brother died. In fact, the moment I saw that he was dead was when that feeling came in. So it was unresolved grief, and I had to experience true sadness and allow that emotion fully to inhabit my body, which the smoking had always blocked before. So that was really powerful. So no wonder I could never give up before. I didn't know how to deal with that. The best thing I had was the cigarette. And you'll know this, that the cigarette becomes the soothe for everything. When I was tired, I had a cigarette. When I was, revved up and anxious, I had a cigarette. When I was bored, I had a cigarette. When I was hungry, I had a cigarette. It never mattered. Right. Step 5 was to really deal with the cravings. So I came up with a plan. This is what I did. I came up with a list, okay, of songs that were all to do. I guess they were love songs, really, but the one that really comes to mind is the Backstreet Boys, You Are My Fire. You know that one. And I imagined that I had been in an abusive relationship with a cigarette. So the cigarette was like my ex-boyfriend, if you like, and the cigarette was trying to get me back in. And I'd be like, no, no. So I would imagine rather comically the sort of cigarette, a bit like some kind of Disney costume, like doing this dance, like, come on, baby, whatever. I'd be like, no, no, I'm not coming back. So I would play out this movie while the song was playing when I got a craving. This helped me because the cravings often hit in the car, because I would often light up the moment I got in the car and pulled out. So I built little strategies around dealing with the cravings. The next part was really about, so this is step 6, was planning the when. In previous attempts to give up smoking, I would get very grumpy, short fused, I was quicker to anger. So that would often actually drive me back to the smoking, right? And I hear this from other people as well. It's quite common. And this is what I say about the data from failing. Take a look at why you went back to the smoking. What happened? You can learn from that and use that to build a strategy now. So I'd noticed that I didn't want to put my son through that, because who wants a grumpy, shitty parent? So I planned, therefore, that he was due to go on camp for school for 5 days. So I decided I was going to go cold turkey the day after I dropped him off. That gave me 4 clear days to get through the nicotine withdrawal, which takes probably a good 3 plus an extra day. So I chose that day and I filled that 4 days with all the things that I love doing. I made sure that I had lunch with my mum. I booked in a massage one day, I had a facial the next day, and a pedicure the day after that. I allowed myself the time and the space to not work as hard. So I really did plan about how I was going to manage the withdrawal, because our dopamine also drops when we take away that pleasure source. And we really do feel down and flat and awful. So I accepted that upfront and I made sure I could do everything that I could to bring other kinds of dopamine and joy into my life. Hot baths, eating out more, buying the favorite ice cream. I really chose that was going to be my 4 days of lots of self-care, lots of being good to myself. That's really the way that I did it. So to recap, so you can make it your own. 1, look at your failures from before and learn from it. What made you go back to the smoking, right? So learn from that. 2 is read Allan Carr's book and find what really resonates for you. I've listed my 3. Strategy first, withdrawal feels physical, like hunger and anxiety, and also identity shifting, right? 3rd one was really about self-care. I had to come up with new ways of getting the unmet need met without the cigarette. And also there was some grief work. So somatics, investigating where the sensations are in your body and when did they first arise. That transported me back to that painful memory, and I had some unresolved grief to deal with. 4, have a plan to deal with the actual cravings when they hit. Exercise might be something for you. I was already fit, so I didn't need that. But find the thing that's going to carry you through the craving. When you decide to go cold turkey, create the space, create this bubble of self-care to get you through all of the cravings, all of the downs, all of the shitty moods that you have. You can't even tell some people who are close to you that you're going to be in a shitty mood and this is why, and just like steer clear. Steer clear of you and be kind to you, and hopefully you'll come out of it. So now I'm not angry like I used to be when I first gave up. So these things, they do dissolve out over time, but I hope that helps you. If you found something that really helps you, please leave that in the comments, share this video with somebody. Subscribe if you like, see me on Instagram, all these kinds of things. This was the beginning of my journey of fixing my internal boundaries before being able to go out and start having better boundaries outside of me.